Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Reporter's Notebook. For those of you who have not watched Reporter's Notebook before, it's where we get a chance to sit down with some of our reporters or maybe some other people from behind the scenes and get to know a little bit more about them, get to know a little bit about the stories that they covered today, and just go a little behind the scenes into, what it's like to be a reporter here. So today we are joined by Mr. Aaron Dean here in the studio. Hey, Aaron.
Hello. Hey, Emily. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So Aaron is one of our morning reporters. So we're doing this segment a little earlier in the day than we normally would. But that is because Aaron gets in here at like 3 a.m.
Yeah,
and
3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and he finishes up his day by 12 o'clock. So he does all his stories in the morning. So for today, Aaron has a very important story to cover. So Aaron, talk to us a little bit about what that was.
So September, many people don't know this, but September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. And here in North Carolina, according to the State Department for Health and Human Services, there are about a little bit over 90,000 people that either have the disease or carry the trait. And those are two different things. So really, Emily, those who carry the trait just have the trait in them. They don't necessarily have the disease. But if both parents, let's say, conceive a child or whatever, and they both have that trait, their child has a 1 in 4 chance of then having the disease. And so let's kind of break that down. What is sickle cell disease? Sickle cell disease is when your red blood cells are not shaped like they normally would be. So kind of like this, they're kind of circular-ish, they kind of look like a donut shape. But really, those with sickle-shaped or a crescent-shaped blood cells, they're shaped a little bit more like this, which makes it harder for them to pass through smaller blood vessels. And so therefore, people with sickle cell disease end up having, issues with fatigue and pain in their body, low oxygen levels within the body and things like that. So really, September is a time to really bring awareness to this disease that really, that not necessarily primarily, but mostly and commonly impacts those of African descent. But anybody can have the trait or the disease, but that's just who it commonly impacts.
Right. And one of the things you mentioned is they get pain throughout their body. And I know actually when I interned last year, you and me went and covered Sickle Cell Day.
That is right.
Yes.
Wow.
At East Carolina.
Full circle moment, Emily.
I know.
That is crazy.
When I was a little intern, I followed Aaron around like a puppy dog.
And look at her now. Wow. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And I mean, that was eye-opening for me for that experience because I had actually never even heard of sickle cell before. Yeah. And to learn that not only is it a disease that affects predominantly, Black Americans, it's a disease that's extremely painful for these people, and there was a lot of children that we saw there who are dealing with this disease. And, they have pain in their body constantly. It's not something that's easy to deal with or it just goes away with medication.
Right.
This is a lifelong battle that they're dealing with, and it's difficult, and there needs to be more awareness around it.
And like you said, and that's the doctor that I spoke to is Dr. Beng Fu with the ECU school, Brody Medical School, Brody School of Medicine, excuse me. And he was just saying, with there not being a universal cure, so that says that there are things out there that can handle this situation, but it's just not universally available, whether due to access, due to the fact to where not everyone will actually qualify for these things, so that's why it's so important, for that specific doctor here in the East and for just all of us to get educated on this because there really isn't like I said, a universal fix for this. But there's things like gene therapy that help treat it, that can help people with this condition, but not completely, cure them of it. So that's why, this month is so special for a lot of people here in our state and across the country.
Right. And like you were saying, here in Eastern North Carolina, Vidant and ECU works a lot with sickle cell patients and sickle cell research and things like that. So we're in a very, predominant area for for this disease, not predominant area for this disease, but an area that is making it their mission to, dedicated to figuring out and researching more about this. And so it's really, important, and it's amazing that we're living in an area that is focusing on a disease like this.
Right. And, I definitely encourage everyone to check out the piece that I did, just simply because, the doctor that I spoke to, Dr. Fu, he has dedicated his life's work for the past 20-something years to sickle cell. And, when he and I were talking just earlier this week, he was saying, he's been around sickle cell his whole life in just various different ways, whether he's known people, whether he's studied it, whatever it is, it's just been a part of his life in some way, shape, or form. And he's really determined to really break down some of the stigmas, the myths, and the concerns and the questions that people may have. And really one big thing that he talked about is that, of course, like we mentioned, people with sickle cell have issues with pain throughout their body and in their joints. And, he said one of the biggest rumors and myths that he's heard is that, they're faking it, or they're doing it for attention, or they're doing, they say they have pain because they want drug medication, want painkillers, things like that. And he was like, no, that's not true. He was saying, people with sickle cell are probably some of the most pain-resistant people that because they live with the pain every day. And he said when it comes to the comments about, needing painkillers and things like that, he was like, when you look at the numbers of people with sickle cell, he was like, you don't really see uncomfortable stats when it comes to overdosing on opioids versus people, the general public, where these things, which numbers are just always just shooting up, going crazy. He was like, so, those are two myths right there that we can just cut out altogether.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and that's crazy that that's a myth that people have, because it is true. These people are living with pain every single day. And these people, like, the children that we got to meet last year who were living with this. These
children
kids,
of all backgrounds.
Yes, these
races,
kids are smart. They do well in school. They're part of, after school clubs and activities and honor rolls and things like that. I mean, these kids are determined and driven and amazing, but they just happen to be living with this, really painful and awful disease every day. But they're living, and they're making their life amazing. So.
And sometimes you don't even, the thing is, you don't even know that they have it, because, these kids, these adults, whomever, don't complain. They keep pushing forward and, keep living their lives just like everybody else, and it's something that I definitely commend people with this condition. Wow, kudos to you guys, the most, genuine and appropriate way. And, again, this is something that can impact anybody of any race, any background. So definitely I encourage anyone who's watching this today, just do some research on it. And you'll be very surprised, celebrities who may be living with it. Look at, what is it? T-Boz from TLC. I think T-Boz, she has it. She's been very outspoken about it and everything. So definitely, definitely do your research, get educated. And that's what these doctors and people in the community want all of us to do. I think after today, after doing this story, I'm definitely going to look into it much more and just get educated.
That's awesome. And like you said, people, especially in our area, because the community and the doctors in this area are so driven and so, passionate about this disease and helping people in our area and all over the country that come here to Eastern North Carolina, because they're doing such great research on this in our area. So we're living in this area. The least we can do is, be educated on this, be responsible, look more into it, research it ourselves, and, just be a little more aware of people living in our area. Yeah, more compassionate for people who are dealing with situations like these. Yeah,
definitely do that. Not just with sickle cell, really any condition. I encourage you all to, if you've never heard of it, look into it, because you'll be surprised by the numbers, how many people live with it and things like that, so yeah.
So, Aaron, if somebody wants to check out the story that you did for today, where can they go to check that out?
So there's a couple different places that you can look. Of course, our website, WNCT.com. You can also check on my Facebook page, Aaron Dean, WNCT, or my Twitter account, which is at WNCT-TV_Dean. So definitely check out all those different platforms. They're there. Let's correspond. Let's talk about it. I'd definitely love to hear your story if you have sickle cell or carry the trait. So let's start a conversation. Let's do this.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for joining me for this edition of Reporter's Notebook. We really appreciate it. And I really hope, this video is informative for people and gives people kind of the push to go out and learn about something new.
Yes.
So
hopefully you can have me back again. I love to come back.
Right. All right. Thank you guys for joining us for this edition of Reporter's Notebook. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.